Welcome back here to Half Court. We're talking a little bit of NBA preseason action, starting off with the 8 p.m. game last night. It was the Hawks versus the Knicks. Kind of a sloppy game there for the Knicks. It was a close one. It was a nail-biter, but a few possessions back and forth. Just you could really tell that there was a lot of youth on these basketball teams. At parts, it was a little bit rough to watch here, although it was basketball, McClure. I'm not complaining, but we got to see a little bit more from both of these teams if they're going to try and make a splash in the regular season.
And the best part about this game between the Hawks and the Knicks was the Vince Carter show, man. Vince Carter is in his 20-something season in the NBA. This guy drained like 3 or 4 threes in a row, and the bench was going crazy. I was going crazy. He was unbelievable in this game, and here's somebody that's battling for minutes because this is a Hawks team that is much deeper now, and a team that is going to be a threat there in the Eastern Conference playoff mix. I think just going to be right in the mix there to make the playoffs. John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, Alex Len played a bunch of minutes. Trae Young and Cam Reddish, that's a young starting five there for the Atlanta Hawks. And you still got DeAndre Bembry, who played a lot of minutes last year. You signed Jabari Parker in the offseason, and he's going to be somebody that is going to be able to contribute for your bench. This is an interesting Hawks team, man, and I think it's going to be one that are going to surprise some people because this is a team that has some guys that can shoot the ball, and Trae Young and Cam Reddish, and you got some guys like DeAndre Hunter and John Collins. DeAndre Hunter, obviously a rookie. We're going to see what he's made of, but John Collins is coming off an unbelievable season for the Atlanta Hawks last year. It's going to be in this Hawks team.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Hawks this season. They're one of those teams that really intrigue me. I like the young core that they have going on there. You mentioned it, John Collins and Trae Young. They bring in Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter this year in the draft. I don't like Alex Len. I think Alex Len sucks. Yeah. Honestly, this dude is terrible. He was really killing my vibe last night. He didn't look good at all against a New York Knicks team that was like starting.
You're right, man. He was out there. I'm like, can you just get off the court?
Seriously, I hate watching that guy play basketball. Big bust whenever he was drafted. Didn't do anything his entire career. I'm not a big fan of this dude whatsoever. If you're going to spend money this offseason, go get yourself a center, please.
Get yourself a big, please.
Oh, my Lord.
Please,
swing a trade for a big something because it's just like Alex Len, are you kidding me, dude? This guy's like a cup of ramen noodles out here, dude. Like, he's terrible. I don't like watching him whatsoever. He's bland. It's bad. Like, I guess he gets the job done.
I guess. Like,
if you were a poor team trying to get a guy on, like, a veteran's minimum deal, maybe bring him in. But are you serious? He's starting for you at center?
If anything, he should be coming off the bench. You need to get a center there if you're the Hawks.
I was watching him try and shoot threes against this Knicks team, and it was, like, just a pathetic endeavor out there for Len behind the arc. I hated watching him against a guy like Bobby Portis who dominated him, or a Mitchell Robinson who, in my opinion, looked absolutely lost last night. This dude looked lost. He was reaching for passes that weren't intended for him. He didn't know where to be on defense. He doesn't understand the pick and roll. This guy is very gifted as far as his physical build and frame is concerned, and his skills that could translate, but he's got to get his head right, man. He took that year off from basketball and didn't play in college, and now he's a second-year player on this Knicks team. He really needs to improve.
Yeah, and he had a pretty solid year for the Knicks last year towards the end, where he was really coming around and being somebody at that 5 position that would get you some boards and play some good defense and have a little offensive game. But you're right, he looked a little bit lost there last night. I know it's preseason. You got some new guys there, and I'll tell you who else look needs to be better for the New York Knicks. Frank Ntilikina. I mean, he's got to be way better than 2 points, 3 assists, and 3 boards in 21 minutes.
He's been awful.
Well, they were talking about him. I need to see a little bit more from Frank Ntilikina. I mean, this is somebody that you drafted in the top 10. Now, it was Phil Jackson's draft pick. at 8 there for the Knicks. But this is somebody who's got to grow and have to be good for the Knicks to win some games this year.
Kevin Knox coming off the bench now for the Knicks. They swap him for they pick up Marcus Morris here in the recent offseason. He put in some minutes. He's kind of just got that dog mentality, Marcus Morris, and I think they really wanted to have an injection of somebody who's been there, done that for this Knicks team. That's not coming off the bench. I know Taj Gibson, he's been there and done that. Other than that, there's not really a guy on this team other than maybe Julius Randle, but he hasn't enjoyed any postseason success either. So Marcus Morris starting for this team, I think it's a good move because Kevin Knox can come in off the bench and give you that punch, give you a couple minutes, probably 20 to 25 minutes a game off the bench. He can be a very versatile scorer for you. He's proven that he has range beyond the arc. He's got good size. He's still a really young guy. So he's got room to grow, doesn't necessarily have to guard those starting wings for other teams that may just come out and dominate and shatter his confidence. I like this role now for Kevin Knox. He can mature at his own pace.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. This is somebody in Marcus Morris that is a big-time, or not a big-time player, but somebody that's been there, done that, has been in a starter's role there with the Boston Celtics and was a pretty good player for them during their runs over the last few years. And he comes in here as a starter probably for the New York Knicks. And Kevin Knox now coming off the bench, it gives him time to kind of mature, like you said, Dolby. And he doesn't – last year I felt like he was kind of just put in the starting position. Now he's got to work a little bit harder to gain that starter's position. But I like his role off the bench. I think it's going to make him better. And I think he's going to be a pretty good contributor for the New York Knicks off the bench. He's still very young. And this is somebody that I think is going to be a lot better this year.
The Lakers played the Warriors last night at the 10:30 slot. Thought it was going to be a little bit more of a competitive game than what it was. But in all reality, holy moly, the Warriors looked lost out there. The whole team looked lost. And this is where, you can really see their depth come through because they had guys like Jordan Poole out there putting in major minutes for him. Or Marquise Chris played 25 minutes. Oh, my Lord.
It is preseason.
I don't care what it is, dude.
I agree. I mean, you really did see this depth. And they were talking, on the broadcast about, is Marquise Chris going to make this team? And it sure looks like it because I'll tell you what, you got no names on this Warriors team. And if something would happen to Steph Curry, you're in some trouble. If you are the Golden State Warriors, I think you need to really think about that and say, hey, we're not as talented as we were, even as we were. You got a lot of guys who are rookies, second-year players, some young guys. I like the D'Angelo Russell signing, and he was probably the only bright spot in that game last night for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, Steph Curry didn't play. The LA Lakers beating the Warriors 126-93 in Staples Center. It was a heck of a game for a lot of these Lakers out there. I mean, Anthony Davis almost had a triple-double. LeBron James played very well. He looked unstoppable at times on the court. Avery Bradley contributed with 18 points. Everybody kind of chipped in. And what I really want to highlight is Quinn Cook and Dwight Howard.
I was just going to say that.
Oh, my goodness. Quinn Cook looked silky smooth.
He looked good. He looked really good last night. I was really impressed with what I saw from Quinn Cook and what he was doing out there for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think this is somebody that is going to be a contributor off the bench for this Lakers squad. He really played well last night. And I got to also give credit to Dwight Howard, man. That was a great performance last night. He's battling there for that second center spot, which JaVale McGee, you could honestly run three centers if you really wanted to. But we'll have to see where his future is with the Lakers. But I was pretty impressed with Dwight Howard and what he did last night. This is somebody that has been to an NBA Finals and carried a Magic team. He's been to a bunch of All-Stars. I believe it's 8. He's been a big-time player, a rebounding leader. This guy ain't a scrub. And if he has a role here on this Lakers team, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for him.
No, I really like Quinn Cook as like a backup 2 guard or even a backup point guard at times when Rajon Rondo doesn't match up well with whoever they're playing. This is a really deep team here for the Lakers. I love their depth. They look great.
I think I was wrong on this. I know that was a question mark I had going into this year. I really didn't see a lot of game action yet. And I watched that game last night, and I'm saying, you look at the numbers here in this preseason, and this preseason game, and it's a lot of just guys everywhere contributing with, a few buckets here. You see Kendavius Caldwell-Pope with 8, Danny Green with 8, Avery Bradley with 18, JaVale McGee with 12. We mentioned Quinn Cook and Dwight Howard. Jared Dudley gave you some good minutes. I understand, like, at the beginning that I might have been a little bit wrong on this Lakers depth, man, but you got some dogs on this team. I'm not going to lie. And it's going to be, I think, a really, really good season for the Los Angeles Lakers. They're going to be probably one of the most exciting teams in the NBA this season.
Yeah, they're looking like the Showtime Lakers, man. This is going to be a great product. And I just found myself getting so excited watching this preseason game. It's meaningless, but like, just watching these guys, how they interact with each other on the court, every time that Dwight Howard would get a big put-back jam, I was out of my seat. Yeah. I love watching Dwight Howard. I think he's going to be a huge role player for this Lakers team. He's looked great. He's in a reduced minutes role. He doesn't need to be the guy anymore. This dude's putting on a show.
Yeah, I said it, man, and just a few seconds ago, if he can get into a role there on the bench and be fine with the role, I think he's going to pan out just fine for him. You saw what JaVale McGee did last year. He had a pretty solid year, JaVale McGee, and you bring him back, and you got Dwight Howard. You got some good centers on this team for the Los Angeles Lakers. AD and those two guys, watch out, West. Watch out.
You want to talk about rim protection?
Yeah.
Those 3 dudes right there.
Watch out.
Oh, my gosh.
Watch out.
You want to hear how desperate the Warriors are? They signed this dude, Kavion Pippen. Oh. You want to guess who he's related to? It's in the last name. Scottie Pippen's nephew, dude. They're playing the lottery genetics, or the genetics lottery right here, just hoping that they can get some semblance of Scottie Pippen, because right now this team looks like trash. They got this dude number 95. I'm asking myself all game, who is number 95? They're not saying his name at all. Why? Because he didn't make one good play all game. He got some serious minutes at 16 minutes last night. 3 rebounds, no assists, no points for this dude. You want to talk about a guy who looked lost. Yeah. Number 95 for the Warriors. I pray to God that for these fans, they just built this new stadium. They're getting really excited for the year. Let's hope that number 95 does not see the court or even make the final roster.
That's the thing, man. You just don't know when you look at this Warriors team. You really don't know who's going to be out there and be a contributor off the bench. You really don't. And it's because you got rid of guys like Iguodala, Sean Livingston, and somebody else. I can't remember his name right now, but it's because you got rid of some of those guys, and you're going to have to go with some of your young bucks that you drafted, and you're going to have to see how it pans out. And that's why if Steph Curry would get hurt, and I'm not saying he will, because I think I want to see him play the entire year, but if for some reason he's missing significant time, the Warriors will be in some trouble.
I mean, we had him ranked number 7 in the Western Conference in our preseason poll. So, I mean, I think that's about where they're going to slide in. I highly doubt they miss the playoffs, but I don't think they're really going anywhere, especially without Klay Thompson.
No way.
Some more NBA news here for the preseason. The 76ers have looked really good. They're 3-0 against American competition. They are undefeated so far throughout the preseason. These dudes, they look like a squad that has chemistry going already, even with Richardson coming in this offseason, or Tybal, who just got drafted, just starting to find a role there for the 76ers. They've been getting a lot of contributions from all over this roster. They've looked really good this preseason.
They've been creaming people with in the preseason. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of chemistry, I think, on this team right now. And you saw it, especially in the fourth quarter of that game where Norvell Powell was blocking those shots against the Pistons. Did you see how that bench just exploded? I mean, then and there, you know that this team is all business. They're all good friends, I'd say, and they got some good pieces on this team, man. You add in Al Horford, you add Josh Richardson, who a lot of people are saying is a lesser Jimmy Butler, somebody who's like a little bit younger, has kind of the same skill set, not as good as the clutch game, and maybe not so on defense, but is growing, and maybe somebody that could be that guy later in his career as he hits his prime. I like what I've seen from those two guys, especially Richardson. And this Sixers team, man, they're all business. You hear Ben Simmons in his interviews. This is going to be a big-time 76ers squad.
Yeah, they have not allowed a team to score 100 points yet this preseason at all. And whenever they had ones against the Magic, they beat them by 30-plus points. This team has been really just jaw-dropping how much their star players – have really increased, like their potential and their role in this team. Like they've been shocking me completely. Embiid has looked great. Horford has looked great. Harris has looked fantastic. And Ben Simmons, the shock of it all, can shoot a three-pointer. Oh, my Lord.
We'll have to see on the three-pointer. He did make that one in preseason, but I want to see it during the regular season, man.
Zion and the Pelicans. Sleeper in the West?
Ooh, I've been impressed with the Pelicans, and especially Zion Williamson. He's averaged 23 in preseason, and he looks like a man-child out there. And he looks like somebody who's going to take this league by storm. And the over-under for them in wins is 39.5. I think they're going to be right there. I'm taking the over on that. I think they might get 41, 42 wins.
This has looked like an impressive squad right here, especially with Lonzo dropping dimes to Zion in the paint.
That's going to be great.
This is like new Lob City out here. I like watching them play. Do I think that they're going to reach that 39.5 mark? No. They're a young team. They haven't played together long at all. They're trying to put a bunch of pieces together. We saw it with Miami whenever they got their big three. We saw it last year with LeBron, with basically this same team in L.A., and they weren't a playoff team then. They were hanging around for a while, but is this a team right now with all these young players that I think are going to make the playoffs or even reach 500? No. Okay. I'm going to take the under, maybe 35 wins. They're going to look good. Every game that they play is going to be a fun game to watch. I think they'll be in a lot of games, but they don't really have that guy that's going to close out a game for them yet.
I respect that.
We'll see what Drew Holiday can do, or maybe Derek Favors. But right now, it's just a lot of pieces meshing together. Give it time.
Okay.
1 year, 2 years in the future, this is going to be a team that we talk about a lot more, especially if Zion stays healthy. They're undefeated in the preseason. They've looked great. I mean, scoring over 125 points in most of their games. The one outlier there is 123 against the Spurs. So they've been a really high-flying team. The defense isn't quite there yet. But I do like this team not to hit the over, though, at 39.5. James Harden had a major game against the Spurs. Sadly, the rest of his team played like crap. So that's what you're going to get from James Harden. You're going to get those big bucket games from James Harden where he goes off, almost had a triple-double, 40 points, 7 assists, 10 rebounds, but the rest of his team really were absent.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the story of what the Rockets have been the last few years. It's been the James Harden show and other guys not stepping up. Now they do have Russell Westbrook. It is just preseason, and this is going to be a team that's going to be right in the mix in the West. I think they could maybe surprise some people and get a top 3 seed, maybe a 2 seed if they just get more wins than, say, the Lakers for whatever reason. But we'll have to see. You're going to see a lot of that this year from James Harden.
Dillon Brooks dropping 30 on the Thunder last night. That was great.
I like that.
The Grizzlies they really need somebody who can come in and get them buckets. Dillon Brooks, not a guy that's gonna really be a game changer as far as passing the ball or going to get boards, but
he can put the ball in the hoop.
That's the truth. They're going to need that guy this upcoming season with a very young roster. We'll see how Dylan Brooks progresses throughout the year. Keep an eye on this young fella for the Memphis Grizzlies. And C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard having an absolute night against the Jazz as their team defeats the Utah Jazz 126-118. Looked really good last night.
I'm a fan of this Blazers team, man, and I always have been, and they took a good step last year. Got to the Western Conference Finals, obviously got swept, and I think that's just because they ran out of gas there. They had a really tough series against the Denver Nuggets, and you still got some good players on this Portland Trail Blazers team, man, and you still got some guys. You got Rodney Hood's coming back. Mo Harkless is still there. They were coming off your bench. You finally got rid of Aminu. He's gone, and you still got Dame and CJ, man. It's going to be a great season for the Blazers.
Lillard dropping 25 points, 4 assists, and 5 rebounds. And C.J. McCollum having a nice game, 28 points, 4 assists, and 2 rebounds in about 25 minutes. So you love to see the production there for those two stars, especially given that their time was limited on the court. Looked really great against a Jazz team that a lot of us expect will do great things next year. That's an intriguing team there for Portland. We're going to cut it to our last commercial break, bring you our last blast from the draft segment. It's the 2012 NBA draft, guys. We've really enjoyed this segment. I hope you guys do too. Here coming up after this quick commercial break.